The arena was cold and sterile, designed for containment rather than comfort. Bright lights shone from above, making everything look harsh and clinical. The walls were reinforced metal, scarred with deep gouges from the warbeast's previous attempts to escape. The Vexilith warbeast stood in the center of the arena, and it was the most terrifying thing Hyunwoo had ever seen. 3 meters of pure rage and muscle, covered in biometallic scales that gleamed under the lights. 6 eyes, each one burning with hatred and pain. Its claws were as long as daggers stained with old blood. Fresh wounds covered its body, poorly treated and infected. One of its legs was broken, healing badly at the wrong angle. Dozens of scars told the story of years of forced combat and abuse. The creature saw Hyunwoo enter and roared. The sound was so loud that the observation windows vibrated. It was not just a challenge. It was pure fury, the scream of a being that had known nothing but pain and violence for its entire existence. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched their screens. In the Korthaxi Empire, Velkor watched with a smile. He had won. The human would die. And that would be the end of this foolishness about patience and empathy. In the Galactic Union, people watched with hope and fear. Little Yoonji sat with her Drake, both of them watching the screen in her quarters. She pressed her small hands together and whispered, "Please be safe." Hyunwoo did not approach the warbeast. Not yet. He stood just inside the door and observed. This was different from the Drake. The Drake had been scared and panicked. This creature was neither. It was calculating, assessing him as a threat. Its eyes tracked his every movement with predatory focus. But Hyunwoo saw something else too. The way the warbeast favored its broken leg, the way its breathing was labored from infected wounds, the slight tremor in its muscles that spoke of exhaustion. This creature was suffering, but it had learned that showing weakness meant more pain, so it hid the suffering behind rage. "I am not here to hurt you," Hyunwoo said softly. His voice was steady despite his racing heart. "I know you do not believe that. Every other being who has come here has hurt you. But I am different," the warbeast snarled. It did not understand the words, but it understood the tone. It had heard gentle voices before, right before electric shocks or beatings. Kindness had always been a lie. Hyunwoo sat down on the floor, the exact same position he had used with the Drake. He made himself small, non-threatening. He did not look directly at the creature. He simply existed in the space, breathing slowly, projecting calm. Hours passed, not minutes. Hours. The live broadcast continued, showing nothing but Hyunwoo sitting and the warbeast standing, watching him with suspicious eyes. Some viewers grew bored and turned off their screens. Others stayed, mesmerized by the strange patience of this human. Velkor laughed on his broadcast. "This proves nothing. The creature is simply deciding when to kill him." But Dr. Vesiskara, watching from her observation post, saw something different. The warbeast's posture had changed slightly. Its muscles were not quite as tense. Its breathing had slowed. The creature was still aggressive, still ready to attack, but it was also confused. Why was this small being not running or attacking? What was this strange behavior? After 3 hours, Hyunwoo did something unexpected. From his medical bag, he pulled out a container of food. Not medical supplies, food. Real meat, fresh and rich with smell. He had prepared this specially, knowing that the warbeast had been fed nothing but minimum nutrition paste for years. He opened the container slowly. The smell filled the arena. The warbeast's nostrils flared. Its 6 eyes widened slightly. It had forgotten what real food smelled like. Hyunwoo set the container on the floor between them and slid it forward slowly. Then he retreated, sitting back down in his original position. He did not watch the food. He did not watch the warbeast. He simply sat, relaxed and calm. The warbeast stared at the food. This was obviously a trap. It had to be. But the smell was so strong, so appealing. The creature's stomach, empty except for paste, made a low rumbling sound. 10 minutes passed. 20. The warbeast's hunger won over its suspicion. It approached the food cautiously, ready to leap back if this was a trick. When nothing happened, it bent down and ate quickly, defensively, expecting punishment at any moment. But no punishment came. Hyunwoo just sat there humming that same old Korean lullaby he had used with the Drake. The melody was soft and sad, completely out of place in this harsh arena. But it filled the space with something new, something the warbeast had never experienced before. When the food was gone, the warbeast did not retreat. It stood there looking at Hyunwoo. For the first time in its life, something had happened that was not painful. It had received food without suffering for it. The experience was so alien that the creature did not know how to respond. Hyunwoo began to speak again. Not words that mattered, just sounds. Gentle, rhythmic, absolutely calm. He talked about his grandmother, about the mountains of Korea, about the first time he had helped a scared animal. The war beast could not understand the words, but it heard the tone. No threat, no anger. Just presence. More hours passed. The broadcast continued. More viewers tuned out, but millions remained unable to look away. Something was happening, something subtle and profound. The war beast lay down. Not from exhaustion, though it was tired. It lay down because some ancient instinct, buried under years of torture and conditioning, remembered what it felt like to be safe, just for a moment. Just in the presence of this strange, small being who showed no fear and offered no harm. Hyunwoo slowly stood up. The war beast's eyes tracked him, but it did not rise. He approached, moving with such slowness that each step took a full minute. He kept talking, kept humming, kept projecting that absolute calm. When he was 2 meters away, he stopped. He extended his hand, palm up, just as he had with the drake. An offering. A gesture of peace. Easy, buddy, he whispered. Those same words. I know what they did to you. I know you have never known anything but pain. But it does not have to be that way. Let me help you. The war beast looked at his hand. Its 6 eyes narrowed. This was the moment of choice. Kill this human and return to the only existence it knew, or take a chance on something it did not understand. In the observation room, Nara held her breath. Dr. Veskara's 6 hands gripped the control panel so hard her knuckles turned pale. Security forces had weapons trained on the arena, ready to kill the war beast if it attacked. The war beast moved forward slowly, its massive head lowered toward Hyunwoo's hand. Closer. Closer. Its mouth opened slightly, showing teeth that could tear through armor. Then, incredibly, it touched its nose to Hyunwoo's palm. The same gesture the drake had made. Recognition. Acceptance. The beginning of trust. Hyunwoo placed his hand on the war beast's scarred head. Tears ran down his face, though he did not realize it. This creature, engineered to be nothing but a weapon, tortured and broken, was choosing to trust. Was choosing to hope. Good boy, Hyunwoo whispered. You are safe now. I promise, he signaled to Nara. She entered carefully, carrying medical supplies. The war beast watched her but did not react aggressively. When Hyunwoo explained what they were going to do, using that same calm voice, the creature allowed them to approach. The treatment took 8 hours. They cleaned and dressed the infected wounds. They set the broken leg properly, using a brace that would let it heal correctly. They removed pieces of metal that had been embedded in the creature's flesh from old battles. They did everything with gentleness and patience. When the war beast felt pain, Hyunwoo would stop and simply hold its head, speaking softly until the creature was ready to continue. When they finished, the war beast looked different. Not healed completely, but on the path to healing. More than that, something had changed in its eyes. The burning hatred had dimmed. In its place was something new. Hope. When Hyunwoo left the arena, exhausted and covered in blood and medical fluids, he found a changed world waiting for him. The broadcast had been viewed by trillions. The Korthaxi challenge was settled. Even Velcor had fallen silent, unable to deny what everyone had witnessed. More importantly, something had shifted in how the galaxy saw veterinary medicine. Technology was important, yes, but connection was equally important. Understanding was valuable. Patience had power. Dr. Veskara offered Hyunwoo a new position, Chief of Interspecies Veterinary Medicine at Nexus Station. He would train others, both human and alien, in these methods. He would combine the best of both approaches, technological excellence and emotional intelligence. Hyunwoo accepted. Nara became his deputy. Together, they built a new program that would change veterinary medicine across the galaxy forever. Months later, Hyunwoo was teaching a class of mixed-species students. Among them was a young Korthaxi, sent by Velcor himself to learn these new methods. The students watched as Hyunwoo demonstrated his techniques on a nervous creature, a small thing brought in by a worried owner. He sat down on the floor, making himself small and non-threatening. He extended his hand palm up, and he spoke those words that had become famous across 1,000 worlds. Easy, buddy. I am here to help. In the back of the classroom, Dr. Visekara watched with all 6 eyes. She had learned so much from this young human. The galaxy had learned so much. On a viewing deck, little Yunji watched the class through a window. The news spread through Nexus Station like wildfire. Within hours, every staff member knew about the impossible surgery. By the next day, the story had reached the inner systems. By the end of the week, it was broadcast across the entire Galactic Union. The recording of Hyunwoo treating the thornback drake was viewed billions of times. Beings from 1,000 different worlds watched in amazement as the young human sat on the floor and simply talked to the terrified creature. They saw him remove the shards with nothing but patience and gentle hands. They watched the drake choose to trust him. Most amazingly, they heard those 2 simple words that echoed across the galaxy. Easy. Buddy. The Galactic Veterinary Council requested all of Dr. Visekara's recordings and reports. What was supposed to be a routine filing became the most discussed case in modern veterinary history. Scientists, doctors, and researchers demanded to know how Hyunwoo had done it. The answers they found surprised everyone. A research team studied Earth's history and discovered something remarkable. Humans had spent thousands of years living alongside dangerous animals. They had turned wolves into dogs, wild horses into loyal companions, and deadly cats into purring pets. Humans had survived by learning to understand animal behavior in ways no other known species had needed to. Earth had been an unusually dangerous planet. Humans were not the strongest, fastest, or most deadly creatures there. They had survived through intelligence, yes, but also through an unusual ability to form bonds with other species. They could read body language across species barriers. They could sense fear and pain in creatures completely different from themselves. They had to, or they would have died out long ago. One researcher published a paper titled, "The Human Advantage: Cross-Species Empathy as an Evolutionary Survival Trait." It became the most downloaded scientific document in galactic history. The Galactic Union's veterinary community was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. They had become so dependent on technology that they had forgotten how to actually connect with the creatures they treated. They saw patients as problems to be solved with machines and medicine. Humans, still primitive by galactic standards, had kept something more valuable: the ability to simply understand. Dr. Visekara established a new position at Nexus Station, Senior Consultant for Interspecies Behavioral Medicine. She offered it to Hyunwoo. The young human who had been rejected 3 times for upper-level positions was now being asked to teach the most respected veterinarians in the galaxy. Hyunwoo accepted, but he made one condition. Nara had to be promoted too. She would be his deputy. Dr. Visekara agreed immediately. The 2 humans began working on the upper levels, handling cases that had been declared impossible. For 3 months, everything went perfectly. Hyunwoo treated dozens of dangerous creatures that other vets could not approach. He used the same methods each time: patience, observation, gentle reassurance. His success rate was incredible. Word spread further. Wealthy beings from across the galaxy started bringing their most difficult cases to Nexus Station specifically to see the human whisperer. Then came the challenge from the Korthaxi Empire. The Korthaxi were rivals to the Galactic Union. They had their own veterinary systems, their own technology, their own pride. When they heard about Hyunwoo's success, many Korthaxi veterinarians were insulted. They claimed the recordings were faked. They said humans had used some kind of hidden technology or drugs. They insisted it was impossible to treat dangerous creatures without advanced systems. Their most vocal critic was a veterinarian named Velcor. He was famous in Korthaxi space, known for his aggressive treatment methods and his belief that force and technology were the only ways to handle dangerous animals. He appeared on several news broadcasts mocking Hyunwoo's methods, talking to creatures, singing lullabies. "This is not medicine. This is fantasy. I demand proof that these primitive human methods actually work." The controversy grew larger. Political tensions between the Korthaxi Empire and the Galactic Union made everything worse. What should have been a medical discussion became a question of which civilization was superior. Finally, Velcor issued a formal challenge. He demanded a demonstration. Hyunwoo would have to treat a creature that everyone agreed was truly impossible: a Vexillith warbeast. The room fell silent when the challenge was announced. Even Dr. Visekara, who had complete faith in Hyunwoo, looked worried. War beasts were not just dangerous, they were weapons. The Korthaxi military bred them specifically for combat. They were genetically enhanced to be aggressive, fearless, and nearly indestructible. The war beast for the demonstration had been confiscated from an illegal fighting ring. It had killed 3 handlers who tried to move it. 2 veterinarians had attempted to euthanize it, and the creature had killed them too before they could finish. It was currently contained in a maximum security holding facility, sedated with enough drugs to kill a normal creature 10 times over. Even sedated, it had injured 4 guards. The Korthaxi challenge was clear. If Hyunwoo could treat this creature using his methods, they would recognize human veterinary techniques as legitimate. If he failed, if he was killed, then humanity's credentials in advanced veterinary medicine would be dismissed. Humans would be barred from practicing xenobiology. All of Hyunwoo's achievements would be erased. It was a trap. The Korthaxi had chosen the one creature they knew was truly impossible. But refusing would be seen as admitting that human methods were a fraud. The political pressure was enormous. Hyunwoo met with Dr. Veskara in her office. The Peluvian doctor looked at him with all 6 eyes, and for the first time, he saw genuine fear in them. "You do not have to do this," she said. "I have seen war beasts. They are not like the drake. They are bred to have no fear, no hesitation, only aggression. Their minds are broken on purpose. There is nothing to connect with. Nothing to calm. They exist only to kill. But this one is injured," Hyunwoo said. "It is suffering. That is why it is fighting everyone. No, it is fighting because that is what it was made to do. It does not know anything else." Hyunwoo looked out the window at the stars. He thought about his grandmother, teaching him to approach wild dogs that everyone else feared. He thought about the drake, pressing its head against his chest for comfort. He thought about Yoonji's tears of joy when her friend was saved. "I have to try," he said simply. "If I refuse, everything we have learned will be lost. No one will believe that kindness and patience have value. They will go back to seeing creatures as things to be controlled instead of beings to be understood." Dr. Vesikara was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "I cannot stop you, but I will do everything I can to prepare you." She showed him recordings of the war beast. Hyunwoo watched for hours, studying every movement, every reaction. The creature was 3 meters tall, covered in scales that looked like metal. It had 6 burning eyes and claws that could tear through steel. Its medical scans showed old injuries throughout its body. Poorly healed wounds from years of forced combat, malnutrition from being fed only enough to keep it alive, and signs of psychological trauma that made the readings look like static. The more Hyunwoo watched, the sadder he became. This was not a monster. This was a tortured victim. Someone had taken a living being and turned it into a weapon through cruelty and pain. Nara volunteered to assist him again. Hyunwoo tried to refuse. "This is different from the drake," he said. "This is too dangerous." "Then you will need someone who knows how you work," Nara replied firmly. "Someone who can anticipate your needs. Someone who trusts you completely." "That is me," they prepared together. Not with technology, but with meditation and focus. Hyunwoo spent his time before the demonstration in silence, clearing his mind, finding his center. His grandmother had taught him this too. Before approaching any scared creature, you had to be calm yourself. Animals could sense fear and anxiety. They would mirror it. The day of the demonstration arrived. It would be broadcast live across both the Galactic Union and the Korthaxi Empire. Billions would watch. Political leaders, scientists, veterinarians, and common citizens all waited to see if the human would succeed or die. Hyunwoo stood at the entrance to the containment arena. Nara stood beside him. They both wore simple medical clothes, carrying only basic supplies. Inside the arena, the Vexilith war beast waited. Its sedatives had been reduced to minimal levels. It was awake. It was aware. And it was very, very angry. Dr. Veskara's voice came through the communication system. "You can still refuse this. No one would blame you." Hyunwoo looked at the massive door. Behind it was almost certain death. But behind it was also a creature that had never known kindness. A being that had suffered its entire life. Maybe it was too broken to save. Maybe the Korthaxi were right. But maybe, just maybe, there was still something inside that creature that remembered what it was like before the cruelty began. Something that wanted to be saved. "Open the door," Hyunwoo said. The door opened. Hyunwoo walked forward into the arena. The galaxy held its breath. Hyunwoo knelt beside the drake, his hand still resting on the creature's armored head. The surgical bay was completely silent except for the Drake's labored breathing and the quiet hum of the space station's life support systems. Every eye in the observation room watched him with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Nara," Hyunwoo said softly, never taking his attention from the Drake. "I need you to prepare the antiseptic spray and the pain gel. We will start with the smallest shard first." Nara moved slowly, her hands steady despite her racing heart. She had seen Hyunwoo work miracles in the lower clinics, calming creatures others had given up on. But this was different. This creature could kill them both with a single movement. Hyunwoo examined the crystalline shards carefully. There were 15 of them, each one embedded at different depths. Some were small, barely piercing the Drake's thick hide. Others had driven deep, possibly touching organs or major blood vessels. The largest shard near the creature's shoulder was as long as Hyunwoo's arm and glowed with an intense purple light. He chose his first target, a small shard near the Drake's rear leg. It was the least dangerous to remove, and it would let him test the creature's reaction. "I am going to touch your leg now," Hyunwoo said to the Drake, his voice remaining calm and gentle. "It will be okay." The Drake's eyes followed him as he moved. Hyunwoo placed his free hand on the creature's leg, just above the shard. He applied gentle pressure, reading the Drake's body language. The muscles tensed, but the creature did not pull away. "Good boy," Hyunwoo murmured. He continued speaking in that soft, rhythmic way. "You are so brave. Such a good boy." He gripped the small shard carefully. It was warm to the touch and vibrated slightly as if alive. Taking a deep breath, Hyunwoo pulled steadily. The shard slid free with a wet sound. Silver blood followed it, but not much. The wound was shallow. The Drake flinched and made a low rumbling sound. Hyunwoo immediately stopped all movement, his hand returning to the creature's head. "Shh. I know it hurt, but it is out now. You are doing so well." Nara quickly sprayed antiseptic on the wound, then applied the pain gel. The Drake's muscles rippled, but it stayed still. It was learning. These humans hurt it, yes, but they also helped. The pain came, but so did relief. "One down," Hyunwoo whispered. 14 to go. In the observation room, Dr. Vesikara was recording everything. Her 6 hands worked different control panels simultaneously, capturing every angle, every technique. This was unprecedented. The human was not using any advanced technology. He was simply talking to the creature, reading its responses, moving with patience that seemed infinite. "How is he doing this?" a young Peluvian assistant asked. "I do not know," Dr. Vesikara admitted, "but I intend to find out." Hyunwoo moved to the next shard, this one slightly larger and embedded in the Drake's side. He repeated his process, warning the creature with gentle pressure, explaining what he was about to do even though the Drake could not understand the words, maintaining that constant stream of calm reassurance. The second shard came free, then the third, then the fourth. Each removal was the same careful dance. Hyunwoo would touch the area first, gauging the Drake's pain level by the tension in its muscles, the dilation of its pupils, the rhythm of its breathing. His grandmother had taught him these things. Every creature showed pain in similar ways, she had said. You just had to pay attention. When a removal was particularly painful, Hyunwoo would stop and simply stroke the Drake's head, humming that old Korean lullaby until the creature's breathing steadied. He was in no hurry. Speed was the enemy here. Patience was everything. Nara worked beside him like a shadow. She anticipated his needs before he spoke them. When he needed the antiseptic, her hand was already extending it. When he needed a particular tool, it was waiting for him. They had developed this coordination over months of working together in the lower clinics, treating hundreds of small animals. Now that experience was proving invaluable. 2 hours passed. Then 3. The smaller shards were all removed. Only the large, deep ones remained. These would be dangerous. They might have pierced important vessels or organs. Removing them could cause the Drake to bleed internally. Hyunwoo studied the largest shard carefully. It was near the Drake's shoulder, driven deep into the muscle, possibly near the creature's equivalent of a lung. This one would hurt badly. We need to be very careful with this one, he said to Nara. Have the clotting foam ready. If there is heavy bleeding, we will need to stop it immediately. Nara prepared the medical foam, her hands shaking slightly. This was the moment when everything could go wrong. Hyunwoo placed both hands on the Drake's head, making direct eye contact for the first time. The creature's eyes were intelligent, ancient. They had seen things Hyunwoo could not imagine. "This will hurt more than the others," Hyunwoo said honestly. "I am sorry, but it has to come out. Do you understand? Do you trust me?" The drake could not answer with words, but it lowered its head slightly and closed its eyes. A gesture of submission, of trust. Hyunwoo felt his throat tighten with emotion. This magnificent creature in terrible pain, scared and far from home, was choosing to trust him. He would not betray that trust. He positioned his hands on the large shard. It was thicker than his wrist and pulsed with that eerie purple energy. He could feel it vibrating, almost like it was alive and fighting to stay embedded in the drake's flesh. "On 3, he said. 1, 2. He pulled on 2 instead of 3. An old trick. It gave the creature less time to tense up. The shard resisted, then came free with a horrible wet sound. Blood flowed immediately, more than before, bright silver and hot. The drake roared in pain. Its entire body convulsed. For a moment, Hyunwoo thought it would attack him. The creature's mouth opened, showing those terrible teeth. Its head swung toward him, but Hyunwoo did not run. He pressed his hands against the bleeding wound, his voice rising above the drake's roar. I know it hurts. But look at me. Look at me." The drake's eyes focused on him. Hyunwoo held that gaze, his hands covered in silver blood, his voice absolutely steady. "You are okay. You are safe. I have got you. We are almost done." The moment stretched. The drake could kill him now, easily. One bite would end everything. In the observation room, security guards raised their weapons again, fingers tight on triggers. Then the drake lowered its head. It did not attack. It was still in agony, but it trusted. It chose to trust. Nara sprayed the wound with clotting foam. The bleeding slowed, then stopped. She applied extra antiseptic and a thick layer of pain gel. Hyunwoo kept his hands on the drake's head, stroking gently, praising constantly. "Good boy. Such a good, brave boy. The worst is over. You did so well." The remaining large shards came out more easily. The drake had learned to endure. It flinched and groaned with each removal, but it never tried to attack. When the pain was too much, it would press its head against Hyunwoo's chest, seeking comfort. And Hyunwoo would hold still, letting the creature lean on him, whispering reassurance until it was ready to continue. Finally, after nearly 5 hours, the last shard was removed. Hyunwoo cleaned and dressed every wound. He checked the drake's vital signs with a simple scanner, the only piece of technology he had used. The readings were weak but stabilizing. The creature would live. But Hyunwoo did not leave. He sat on the floor and the drake lay down beside him, its massive head resting in his lap. He continued stroking its scarred scales, humming that lullaby, letting the creature know it was not alone. The drake's breathing deepened. Its eyes slowly closed. It fell into a natural healing sleep, something it had not experienced since the accident. Its last conscious thought was safe. The thought was safe. Hyunwoo looked up at the observation window. His face was covered in silver blood. His clothes were ruined. His arms ached from holding steady for so long. But he was smiling. Nara sat beside him, tears streaming down her face. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually did it." In the observation room, nobody spoke at first. They were too stunned. Then slowly, the alien medical staff began making gestures of respect. For Peluvians, it was pressing all 6 hands together. For Vrellans like Quarix, it was lowering their eye stalks. For others, different signs, but all meant the same thing. Respect, awe, recognition of something incredible. Little Yoonji was crying and laughing at the same time. Her father held her, his own translator buzzing with emotions too complex to translate. Dr. Veskara approached the glass. All 6 of her eyes were focused on Hyunwoo. When she spoke, her voice had changed. The coldness was gone. "Dr. Hyunwoo," she said formally, "what you have done here today, I have never seen its equal. You have my respect." Coming from the legendary Dr. Veskara, those words meant everything. The surgical bay fell silent. Everyone stared at Hyunwoo like he had just volunteered for execution. Maybe he had. The thornback drake roared again, and the sound rattled the reinforced windows. Silver blood dripped from its wounds, forming pools on the metal floor. Dr. Veskara moved her staff back behind the observation glass. Security guards positioned themselves with large weapons, the kind designed to kill creatures that regular guns could not stop. Their fingers rested on triggers. They would not miss. If the drake killed Hyunwoo, they would end the creature instantly. Nara, a human nurse who worked with Hyunwoo in the lower clinics, pushed through the crowd. Her face was pale but determined. "I am going with him," she announced. "That is foolish," Dr. Veskara said flatly. "One human death is bad enough. 2 would be a disaster." "He will need an assistant," Nara insisted. "I have worked with him for 6 months. I know how he thinks. I'm going." Hyunwoo wanted to refuse to keep her safe, but he knew she was right. If this worked, he would need help. And if it failed, well, at least she had made her own choice. "Okay," he said quietly, "but you stay back until I say it is safe." Nara nodded, her jaw set with determination. They walked to the equipment room together. Hyunwoo did not grab the fancy alien technology. He did not take the robotic arms or the energy fields. Instead, he filled a simple medical bag with basic tools: bandages, antiseptic spray, pain relief gel, surgical scissors, the kind of equipment a country veterinarian on Earth might use. "Are you sure about this?" Nara asked quietly. "No," Hyunwoo admitted, "but I have to try." The alien medical staff whispered among themselves as Hyunwoo and Nara approached the surgical bay entrance. Their translators buzzed with words like primitive, foolish, and suicide. Dr. Vesikara stood with her 6 arms crossed, her expression unreadable. At the viewing window, little Yunji pressed her face against the glass. Her father stood beside her, his many crab-like legs trembling. Korix had spent his fortune to bring his Drake here. Now he was trusting that fortune to a young human nobody had heard of. Hyunwoo paused at the door. He took 3 deep breaths the way his grandmother had taught him. "Clear your mind. Calm your heart. Animals can sense fear. If this goes wrong," he said to Nara, "run. Do not try to help me. Just run." "If it goes wrong," Nara replied, "I will be too dead to run." Despite everything, Hyunwoo almost smiled. Then he opened the door. The Drake's head snapped toward him immediately. Its eyes were like burning coals, full of pain and rage. The creature was massive up close, even larger than Hyunwoo had thought. Its armored scales were covered in scars from a lifetime of mining work. The crystalline shards jutting from its body pulsed with that eerie purple glow. Each breath the Drake took was labored and wet. It was dying slowly, and it knew it. Hyunwoo did something that made everyone watching gasp in shock. He sat down on the floor. Not close to the Drake, but not far either. Maybe 10 meters away. He simply sat cross-legged on the cold metal floor and set his medical bag beside him. The Drake stared at him. It growled a sound like an earthquake, but it did not charge. "What is he doing?" Someone whispered in the observation room. "Is he giving up already?" another asked. Dr. Veskara said nothing, but all 6 of her eyes were focused on the scene below. Hyunwoo stayed sitting. He did not look directly at the Drake. Direct eye contact was a challenge in the animal world, a threat. Instead, he looked slightly to the side, aware of the creature but not confronting it. Minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. The Drake's growling slowly decreased. Its breathing remained harsh, but some of the wild panic seemed to fade from its eyes. It was confused. Every other creature that had entered this room had attacked it immediately, trying to restrain it, sedate it, control it. This small human just sat there. Hyunwoo began to speak. His voice was low and soft, barely above a whisper. He was not speaking English or Korean. He was not using words that meant anything at all. He was making sounds, gentle and rhythmic, the kind of nonsense syllables humans had used to calm frightened animals for thousands of years. "Shh, shh. It is okay. You are okay." The words did not matter. The meaning did not matter. What mattered was the tone, the rhythm, the absolute calm in his voice. Hyunwoo made himself a source of peace in a world of pain. Then he started humming. It was an old song his grandmother used to sing when he was scared as a child. A lullaby from the mountains of Korea, passed down through generations. The melody was simple and sad and beautiful. It filled the surgical bay with something the sterile medical facility had never contained before: warmth. In the observation room, someone gasped. The Drake had stopped growling completely. Its massive head tilted slightly, as if trying to understand this strange new sound. More minutes passed. Hyunwoo continued humming, occasionally mixing in soft words. "You are safe now. I know it hurts. I am here to help." Over and over, like a prayer, the Drake's body began to relax. Not completely, but enough. Its legs, which had been tensed to attack or flee, loosened slightly. Its tail stopped lashing. The creature was still in terrible pain, but the pure terror was fading. Dr. Veskara leaned closer to the glass. In 300 years, she had never seen anything like this. Hyunwoo made his next move very slowly. He extended one hand toward the drake, palm up, fingers relaxed. It was an offering, not a threat. He did not reach far. He just held his hand out and waited. No, someone breathed in the observation room. It will bite his arm off. Security guards raised their weapons. This was it. This was where the human died. The drake stared at Hyunwoo's hand. Its nostrils flared, trying to catch his scent. Silver blood continued to drip from its wounds. The crystalline shards glowed brighter, as if feeding on the creature's pain. Seconds felt like hours. Then, incredibly, the drake moved forward, one massive step. Then another. Its movements were slow and careful. It was not attacking. It was approaching. The drake's head lowered. It sniffed Hyunwoo's hand, its breath hot and smelling of copper and electricity. Hyunwoo did not move, did not flinch. His hand remained steady. The drake sniffed again. Then, in a movement that would be replayed on news broadcasts across 1,000 worlds, the massive predator very gently touched its scarred nose to Hyunwoo's palm. Recognition, acceptance, trust. Hyunwoo slowly turned his hand and placed it on the drake's snout. His fingers were tiny against the armored scales. He stroked gently, the way he would pet a frightened dog. "Easy, buddy," he whispered. Those 2 words, simple and soft, would become the most famous phrase in galactic veterinary medicine. "I know it hurts. I am here to help." The drake's eyes closed for a moment. Its breathing steadied. When the eyes opened again, they were different. Still pained, still scared, but no longer wild. The creature had made a choice. It would trust this small, strange human. In the observation room, chaos erupted. Doctors shouted in amazement. Guards lowered their weapons in disbelief. Little Yoonji jumped up and down, crying happy tears. Korix made sounds his translator could not even begin to interpret. Dr. Veskara pressed all 6 hands against the glass. Her voice was barely audible. "Impossible," she whispered. Absolutely impossible, but it was happening. Hyunwoo gestured to Nara. She approached carefully, carrying the medical bag. The drake's eyes tracked her movement. But when Hyunwoo spoke softly to it again, the creature relaxed. "Good boy," Hyunwoo murmured. "We are going to help you now. It will hurt, but we will be gentle. I promise." He opened the medical bag and removed his simple tools. No robots, no energy fields. Just his hands, his voice, and thousands of years of human instinct that told him exactly how to touch a scared creature, without causing more fear. The real work was about to begin. Hyunwoo looked at the crystalline shards embedded in the drake's body. Removing them would cause agony. The creature might panic again. Everything could still go wrong. But for the first time since arriving on Nexus Station, Hyunwoo felt like a real veterinarian. This was what he was born to do. "Okay, buddy," he said softly, his hand still on the drake's scarred head. "Let us get you fixed up." The lights of Nexus Station flickered in the eternal darkness of space. The massive structure floated between 3 solar systems, serving as the largest veterinary hospital in the entire Galactic Union. Ships from hundreds of worlds arrived daily, carrying sick and injured creatures from across known space. Dr. Hyunwoo walked through the lower-level corridors, his white coat clean and pressed. He had been working at the station for 6 months now. His job was simple but boring. He treated small domestic animals that wealthy travelers brought with them, fluffy creatures that needed vaccines, tiny lizards with stomach problems. Nothing exciting. Nothing dangerous. The real work happened upstairs. That was where the famous alien veterinarians worked. They had centuries of experience and technology that seemed like magic. They treated the most exotic and valuable creatures in the galaxy. Hyunwoo had applied to work up there 3 times. Each time they rejected him. His species was too young, they said. Humans had only been in space for 40 years. They were not experienced enough. Hyunwoo tried not to feel bitter about it. He was grateful to have any job at all. Most human veterinarians never left Earth. He was lucky to be here, even if he spent his days treating space hamsters. The alarm bells started ringing during his lunch break. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Hyunwoo ran toward the emergency bay with dozens of other staff members. Something big was happening. A wealthy merchant named Korix had just arrived in his private ship. His species, the Vrellans, looked like giant crabs with too many eyes. Korix was screaming in his translator, the device struggling to keep up with his panic. Behind him, a large transport cage shook violently. The metal bent and screeched with each impact from inside. "My Drake, my precious Drake, you must save him," Korix shouted at anyone who would listen. Dr. Veskara arrived within minutes. The Peluvian doctor was the head veterinarian of the entire station. She had 6 arms, 6 eyes, and 300 years of experience. Everyone respected her. Everyone feared her sharp tongue. "Move aside. Let me see the creature," she commanded. The cage door opened with a hydraulic hiss. Inside was a thornback drake, one of the most valuable creatures in the galaxy. The beast was as large as an earth elephant, covered in black armored scales that gleamed like oil. Dozens of crystalline shards stuck out of its body, glowing with a sickly purple light. Each shard had pierced deep into its flesh. The drake thrashed and roared, trying to dislodge them, but every movement drove the shards deeper. Blood-thickened silver pooled beneath it. "Mining accident," Korix explained through his tears. "He was with me on the colony." There was an explosion. Crystal formation collapsed on him. "Please, you must help him." Dr. Veskara studied the creature with her multiple eyes. Her assistants rolled in the advanced medical equipment. Containment fields hummed to life, creating shimmering barriers of energy. Robotic surgical arms unfolded from the ceiling, their tools gleaming and precise. "This will be difficult," Dr. Veskara announced. "But we have the technology. We will sedate the creature and remove the shards." What happened next shocked everyone. The drake's panic made it immune to their methods. The containment fields tried to hold it still. But the creature's strength was incredible. It smashed through 2 layers of energy barriers. The robotic arms extended toward it with sedative injectors, but the drake moved too fast. Its tail whipped around and destroyed 3 expensive machines. A young assistant got too close. The drake's head snapped toward him. Its jaws opened wide, showing teeth like curved swords. The assistant screamed. Security guards tackled him out of the way just in time. The drake's bite closed on empty air with a sound like a gunshot. For 2 hours, they tried everything. More containment fields, stronger sedatives loaded into dart guns, remote surgery tools that could work from a distance. Nothing worked. The drake was too afraid, too wild, too strong. Its biology was resistant to most sedatives. The ones that might work required close injection, and nobody could get close without dying. Finally, Dr. Veskara held up one of her 6 hands. The room fell silent. Her translator spoke in a cold, final tone. "The creature cannot be treated. It is too dangerous. We must euthanize it before someone dies." Korix fell to his knees. His translator made a sound like sobbing. "No, please. There must be another way. He is worth 10 million credits. But more than that, he is my daughter's friend. She has raised him since he was small. He is family." For the first time, Hyunwoo noticed the small human girl standing at the viewing window. She was maybe 8 years old with dark hair and tear-stained cheeks. Her name tag said Yoonji. She pressed her small hands against the glass, watching the drake thrash in pain and fear. "Daddy, please don't let them kill him," she cried. "Please save him." Something in Hyunwoo's chest tightened. He had seen this before. Not with alien creatures, but with animals on Earth. He had grown up on a farm in the countryside. He had seen horses panic after accidents. He had calmed wild dogs that everyone said were too dangerous. His grandmother had taught him the old ways, the methods that humans had used for thousands of years before technology. He watched the drake carefully. Everyone saw a violent, aggressive predator. But Hyunwoo saw something different. The creature's eyes were wide with terror. Its movements were not attacks, but desperate attempts to escape pain. The drake was not trying to kill anyone. It was trying to survive. The drake was not aggressive. It was terrified. Hyunwoo looked at the little girl crying at the window. He thought about his grandmother's teachings. He thought about all the supposedly impossible animals he had helped on Earth. Then he made a decision that would change everything. He stepped forward. His voice was quiet but clear in the sudden silence. "Let me try." Every head in the room turned toward him. Dr. Veskara's 6 eyes focused on him like laser beams. Her translator made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it was not friendly. You are the junior veterinarian who treats domestic pets. You have no experience with dangerous creatures. Your species has barely left its home planet. This is not your area." "I know," Hyunwoo said, "but I think I can help. This creature has nearly killed 3 of my staff." It has destroyed 500,000 credits worth of equipment. It is beyond our technology. What could you possibly do? Hyunwoo did not have a good answer for that. How could he explain thousands of years of human history? How could he describe the bond between humans and animals that started when the first wolf came to a caveman's fire? How could he make them understand that sometimes the best technology was no technology at all? I just need to try, he said simply. Dr. Vesikara was about to refuse when Quarix interrupted. The merchant stood up, his many eyes looking at Hyunwoo with desperate hope. I choose him, the human. Let him try. The room erupted in protest. It was against regulations. It was dangerous. It would create an incident if Hyunwoo died. But Quarix was firm. Station Legal Counsel was called. They confirmed that the owner had the right to choose his veterinarian. Dr. Veskara could not refuse. The Peluvian doctor turned all 6 eyes on Hyunwoo. Her voice was ice cold. Fine, but understand this, human. We will not intervene when it kills you. The containment fields will stay down. Security will only act to destroy the creature after it finishes you. Your death will be on your own head. Do you accept this? Hyunwoo looked at the drake, still thrashing in agony. He looked at little Yoonji, her face full of hope. He thought about his grandmother's gentle hands on a frightened horse's neck. I accept.